Well, it's been fun, but it's time for a change. To the CNC upgrade time! Yeah, it's time to do some more upgrades to my Gatton CNC machine. I've loved this machine. It's been wonderful. And there's no buts there at all. It's really has been a great machine. Built it with the parts that Dave Gatton sends out and such like that, and it's been really awesome. I've grown a little bit as a CNC woodworky person, and now my machine needs to reflect that. So let me show you what the problem is and then how we're going to fix that. So when I built this machine, I was really doing it on a budget, and Dave's plans call for 2 sheets of 3/4 inch plywood. Somebody flushing a toilet, of course. All right, is it done? Yes, it's done. Okay. So they call for 2 sheets of 3/4 inch plywood, and being cost conscious at the time, I figured out how to make my machine from the most of 1 sheet of plywood. And that's what gave me this overall footprint. So I have like 900 by 1650 in space. So basically a little over 3 feet and a little over 4 feet, about 4.5 feet of space. And that has been really great, especially when I show you this. When I started cutting on my machine, I was using 4x8 sheets of plywood or material from Home Depot. And so this one is 2 feet wide and 4 feet long. Fits great. Everything, I can cut end to end on this without any problems. And what I've discovered is that I really like working with Baltic birch plywood. And if you don't know, typically Baltic birch up to the 1/2 inch or so thickness usually comes in a 5 foot by 5 foot piece of material. And so where I get my Baltic birch, I have them cut it down to a 3 foot section and then the remaining 2 foot. And that's what I use to do my projects. This, of course, is the Surfboard Signs from a previous video. And you can see up here, I couldn't make them bigger. I really wanted them at the beginning to be 5 feet long, but I couldn't do that with this machine because I could have tiled it or what have you, but I really didn't want to move it. So I had to make the surfboards and all that a little bit shorter and lost that 6 inches of room. Now for this project, that wasn't such a big deal for the surfboard part itself. It was still really, big and took care of most of what I wanted it to be originally. But let me show you where it did make a difference. Now this is one of the skeletons from doing all the letters for one of those surfboard signs. Well, actually 2 of the surfboard signs. So as you can see, you go all the way back here, that last 6 inches would contain letters. So what I did in my programming is I actually cut it basically in half. So right through here, the C and everything forward was in one cutting profile, and then everything back there was in a second profile, or program, whatever. So the process of cutting all of this, what would happen is I would have to cut this one, and then I would have to shut everything down, pull the board up, turn it around, put it all back down, restart the machine. And I'd rehome it and all that. So it actually takes quite a bit of time to be moving all that stuff around. And so I've decided that I don't want to do that anymore. I want the full 5 feet of space to be able to cut without having to take up my workpiece and go there. I may still have more than one file to use to cut the entire thing, but all the time saved of pulling it up and switching it around, putting it all back down, rehoming, re-zeroing, all that stuff needs to be taken care of. So what can we do? These rods here are 1/2 inch, 5 start, 6 foot long Acme screws. I never cut them. So this is actually the end of the 6 foot long mark. So could I gain 2 inches there by moving these pieces out further? No, really, because the gantry, the ends of the gantry would still, they would be coming off at the end of the angle here. So I really couldn't do that. I really can't. I'm not gonna lengthen the angle there either because of the same thing. So I'm kind of stuck on what to do about lengthening that throw. So all right, so if I bring this up here all the way, it would actually overhang the edge of the machine, and I can get a few inches of space that way. But with that, it's just not enough to get everything. And plus, it would have to re-engineer the whole table, take it all apart, redo it all. And I don't want to do that. I think that's more complicated than what we need to do. Brought my machine all the way up to the front so I can kind of show you what I'm thinking. We have the room in the front, so yeah, I could move it a little bit further up here. I have my zero here, right about about an inch and a quarter or so from the edge. So this doesn't get me the additional space that I need. So I'm not going to go through that trouble to not get everything that I needed. It would still be short by a little bit. So my other thought was actually moving over here. Oh, I'm gonna trip over some stuff. So this is the back of my Z. It's not really doing anything. It just sits there. The back of the Z can travel the full length of the table. So in reality, I'd gain another foot of cutting space if I needed, if I have a Z on the back. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to re-engineer some of my stuff that I've done here, like this thing, the cable track and all that. And then we're going to add another Z box onto the back and be able to switch it from the front one to the back one. I shouldn't have to change anything else, like in the software or whatever. Everything's going to be, the motor directions and all that are still going to be moving the same way. It's just it's behind here instead of being in front, and I'll show you how we're going to attack that when the time comes. But in the meantime, we're going to end up having to move the cable track. I'm thinking I'm going to build something to come up and just do it across the center, which I think will work pretty well. And then this back piece is actually going to be changing to an identical one for the front, and such like that. And we're going to build another Z box, mounts, and all that good stuff. For the router, the first router that I had on this machine was a Craftsman router, and one day it just stopped working. That thing howls at 23,000 RPM, something like that, all the time. So I figured the brushes just went out on it. I took it apart the other day. Turns out the lower bearing just like froze on it or what have you. So I ordered that. It should be, it was supposed to be here 2 days ago, and it's evidently sitting in town at the post office. So it'll get here in the next couple of days. So we have that. So I'm going to use that for the back to save a couple bucks. So I already ordered a new motor. The new motor, this is a 420 ounce motor. Couldn't, for the size coupler here that I'm getting, I could not get the 420 ounce motor soon enough. So it's a 269 ounce motor, which will be fine for what this is and for what it's going to be used for. The front motor, this front one is going to be the one that's used 90% of the time, so I'm not really worried about it. I've ordered the new bearings stuff like that, to get everything back on track and off and running. So the first thing that we need to do is cut all the pieces that I need for the new mount. So we're going to get on that and get it moving. Let's go. So the machine is in there starting to cut away. I decided to step outside so I could talk a little bit more about what's next while that is going on. So I'm going to be cutting all these pieces for the machine. Then my thought process is get that stuff all together, and then I can figure out how I'm going to run my the drag trains and all that good stuff after that. But like I said, I think it's just going to go, maybe I'll make a little mounts that go on top of the gantries and have it connected. I don't know quite yet, but we'll get it figured out. But it's going to be a little while until this is done, so I'm going to get some other work done. Yeah, almost forgot. I did want to mention this because it is 2021 and lumber prices are stupid. So that 2 foot by 4 foot piece of Radia pine plywood cost me as much as a full 4 by 8 foot sheet a year ago. So really, really awesome. Yay. So everything's all cut out now. You will notice here that there's 2 of these gantry plates that are right there, because I'm going to replace this one with one of these. I made a few minor changes to these, and so hopefully it'll rectify the issues that I did to myself on that one. Basically, what I did is I made it a 1/2 inch wider and a 1/2 inch longer, and that was to just give me some extra meat for putting barrel nuts in here. On Dave's design, you're supposed to put a regular nut down here at the bottom with those adjustment screws, and I was a dumbass and tried to put a barrel nut in there, and well, it tore it out at the bottom, so it kind of screwed it up, and so I wanted to fix that while I have the opportunity. So I do need to do a few minor corrections here on what I have. One is that, well, the barrel nuts, they are like a few thou shy of being able to slip in here, and so I need to correct that. And also here where this bearing is, it's also a few thou shy of fitting down in that hole. And so I'm going to go run make some adjustments to my programming, and I'll just go around and it'll just hit those real fast and it'll be ready to go. I'm waiting for my Acme nut and such to come in the mail right now, so as soon as that one gets here, then I can make sure that they fit in those holes, and if I need to make adjustments there, that's fine. Here where you put these nut certs, they fit fine, so no problems there. So I'll just make those adjustments, and then I can take it out and make them pretty. Stain's done. Need to do some poly. Skipping poly. Don't need it. It's inside. I'm not worried about it. We're not doing poly. Okay, a compromise. Spray fast and easy. So as you can see, everything's been stained and quasi polyed. And no, of course I didn't wait for it all to completely dry. I started messing with it on the tabletop, so there's like dust embedded into it, and who cares? It's a CNC. It's gonna get dirty. It's part of its job. So anyway, this is gonna be, I got this one pretty much all together. Still need to tighten everything down, but all the bearings are in place. This is gonna be the rear Z, and that's gonna be the new front one. As you can see, I got the Z box all put together, the router holders all together, and all that good stuff. The next thing to do is, you can see I did attach the motor and everything. The next thing to do is really to pull this thing apart, which kind of is scaring me a little bit to do, just because it's worked so well for these years that I've had it. And I, my luck is that it's gonna never work right again. But I'm sure it'll be fine. I did it once, I can do it again. All right, the gantry's ready to get disassembled. Have a little more fabrication that needs to be done. If you see this little cross piece here that connects the front and back plates, it sits about maybe ½ inch or so taller than here. So I have to mount this over top of that. So I'm gonna have to do something some sort of little plate or something that will come up and give me enough room. Then from there, I'm gonna have to build something off of the gantry plates themselves to accommodate for the curvature of the drag chain. And then I can mount everything else back onto there and then put the plate on. Here are the two gantry plates just sitting side by side. I wanted to make sure that my measurements were right, and that I did it properly. So they are the same height, so that's great. You can see that the one that I made here is about 3/4 of an inch longer, and it's actually about 1/4 of an inch wider. And I did that for the give some extra meat for the barrel nuts here on the bottom and on the side here. Otherwise, all the measurements are the exact same. On my original one here, you can kind of see here on the back, I did drill it out for the barrel nuts, but there's just not enough meat there. And when I tried to tighten them up against the rails, I was hearing a little bit of cracking and stuff like that. So I figured I'd take the opportunity to make this one a little bit longer, and then now I have plenty of meat for those. All right, so looks like this isn't going to be as much of a pain in the butt as what I was originally thinking it was, to move the drag chain up here to the middle. Looks like I only need to come up about 3/4 of an inch here, and then I can do the channel going down the center. To the bottom of this piece here, I'm going to make it about 4½ inches from the top of this. So it'll be like kind of a U channel coming up here, and that will hold the end of the drag chain. Besides that, I've noticed here I've got this cross piece has a crack in it, so I'm going to probably just fill it with some glue, put a clamp on there, and it should hold up fine. It's evidently held up this long, and I really don't want to make another one of those pieces. And here is a quick view of what is happening before the end of the evening. I've already made the cable tray that's fitting there. It will just be screwed into these outside posts. This right here is going to be attached to the Z plates, and it will come up and over. This will get attached underneath of here, such like that. And then I also just made the little brackets here, which are the ones for the limit switch. So that's all ready to go. They'll dry, and then I will go ahead and stain them. Probably won't stain them until tomorrow though. Okay, everything is all stained. So just to go over everything that I have here, this is the brace that goes across for the drag chain. These are the 3 pieces that go in between the gantry plates, which this one I had to remake, and I'll show you why in a second. That's the one in the bottom that I had to remake, and there's the X carriage piece that I had to remake. That was this one, and I'm not remaking it because it was split. The reason that I'm actually remaking it is because of the old gantry plate that was on here only had one washer back here, and so the plate itself was closer. And so now you can see there's about 1/8 of an inch gap, and because you have to have two washers here to make sure that the bolt heads clear the gantry itself. So had to just remake that this evening and get that done. Yeah, so that's good. These are the limit switch pieces and all that good stuff. And of course, now you can also see that I did take apart the whole other gantry plates and all that good stuff. So it's all the new ones, and they've been attached on there and looking good. I was able to reuse my old one from that side, and yeah, so we're looking pretty good. We'll let this stuff dry overnight, and then tomorrow I will start reassembling. Fun times. Whew. It's kind of a marathon of a video today. Sorry about that. We'll try to keep the next one shorter. But the next one is also going to have where we put everything back together and hopefully get it running. So until then, like it, subscribe it, and all that good stuff. Appreciate you watching. We'll see you next time.